Now we are going to learn about variables. And variables, in terms of programming languages, are used to store values, okay? They are not actually specific to Python. However, they are one of the fundamental concepts in programming, and we need to learn about that in Python. This is what we're going to do today. So variables pretty exist much in every programming language, and we use them to temporarily store data in computer memory. The motivation to use variables, so you all know about variables. In algebra, for example, you have x plus y is equal to z, and all this stuff, something like that. So it's mainly all about variables. So let's go now to our IDE and open PyCharm, and let's go and do some programming over there and use Python. Last time we did the print hello world. That was our first line of code. We're learning about the print function, okay? Now what are we going to do is we are going to print something different. So let's try to print the following message. Let's suppose that you guys are excited. So I want to say that I am excited to learn. So Python with Dr. Khalsi. Okay, so you are excited to learn Python with Dr. Khalsi. And to show you that you are excited, what are you going to do right now in here? So you are going to plot, I would say, or show your excitement with kind of, let's say, one emoji, okay? So you are happy. And now what we want, we are going to just run this line of code. So we are going to run, and you will see this message over here. I am excited to learn Python with Dr. Khalsi. Okay, now let's suppose that no, we are going to print this multiple times. Okay, let's say 5 times. Okay, we are going to write the same line of code a given number of times. Okay, so this is five times. And I'm going to run that again. Just we're going to understand why I'm doing this. So let's say that now everyone is happy, fine. And let's say that we are having 5 students and all of them are happy, especially like it was challenging start, but now we are settled, things are okay, we are happy. Now, let's suppose one of you is not just happy, he's super excited, so he's enjoying. No, if I want to edit this, or imagine having hundreds or thousands of students, hundreds of thousands of like print messages or lines of code, let me say, how can I edit the value of this message? So what do you think, guys? So in this case, probably we can go and save the content, I would say, of this message in what we call variables, okay? So let's just make our code pretty clear. How to do that? We are going to use command, and this is just to tell you that here I am going to save the message. I'm going to create some variable message, and I am going to save that as variables, to print it as variable, okay? Save message to print as variable. How to do that? How to use variables, okay? How to use variables. Now I will create, before we did message hello world and then print message, or straight we can print hello world. So the message can use it as a variable in which we can store what we need to write, which is a string in our case, okay? So I am going to create my first message. I would call it, for example, message 1. And this message 1 is going to take like what I'm going to store in that message. I am going to store a string, which is the sentence, for example, that I am excited to learn Python with Dr. Khalsi. Never hesitate to use the tab if things are okay, okay? So this is what I want to write. Fine. But however, here we are having this happy face, okay? And what we will do is that just I'm going to add that in here. And yep. Oh, fine. So this message one, okay, let me just try to go through this prints we see just right now. I'm going to comment all of them in here because we are already using that. So fine. Now we don't need that anymore. So we are just going to comment all this. Fine. Last one. Okay. Now let me have my message one, this one, and I will do the same using variables. So I'm going to print this again. And what I will do now, I'm going to print what? Message one, okay? And let's try this code. It's going to give you this message printed in here just one time. And what I needed before is to do that 5 times, okay? 5 times, simple. So I'm going to have my print as many times as I want. So this is 5 times. Then I will run again. So fine. Now I can see the message 5 times, exactly like before. Here I am feeding the message straight to the print function. And here what I did is that I'm creating a variable in which I have my that message written only one time, and I'm calling that message within the print function as many times as I want. So now, in case that you guys are now, it was a really challenging start, but now we are all excited, super excited, and we are going to update that happy face to make it, I would say, more happy. So I will run here and see. I changed that only in my variables. I cannot keep going, moving, changing it everywhere oops, like this. What's wrong? So, yep. I don't need to keep doing that. This takes a lot of time, especially if you are having a lot of lines or many lines of code. Now we will not do that. If we want to edit, we just edit within the variables. And if we call the variables, it's applied whenever you are calling your like variable. And this is the power of using variables actually. Okay, so now let's move on. What we have in here is just an example now, okay? This is an example, and let's try to go back to our editor and let's try, or let's do this example. So I can share with you later the different codes that I write. So if you want, whether you follow with me or when you are having just access, you can at the same time download the code and try if there is any errors or problems, just to go through the code file that I'm sharing with you. Okay, so all these coding, these files are going to be shared with you. Now let's do something else. What we have in our example, we have variables which is called price. Okay, so what we'll do here, we'll write that our variable named price is going to have some value, and let's start price is equals to 10. Okay, so price is equals to 10 here. If I run this, I have nothing in over there. There is no print, so I cannot see anything. So, and if we are typing that our variable price equals to 10, so when your Python interpreter executes this code, it will allocate some memory, okay? Then it will store the number 10 in that memory. And finally, it will attach this price label to that memory location. As a metaphor, you can just imagine we have a box, and in the box, we have number 10. So number 10 is in the box. And price is the label that we put on the box, it's written on the box. Now, we can use this label anywhere in our program to access the value, okay, that we have in our box. And this is a very simplified explanation. So now we have our price equals to 10 in the terminal. If we want to see this in the terminal, now we have it within the editor. Once I'm running, there is nothing in the terminal, which is here. So if I want to see that, I need to use the print function as we learned. And what I'm going to print, I'm going to print the price. So I'm calling here the price, you see, as the variable. There is no message, there is no text, okay? And if I'm going to run in here, I have the price value, which is 10. This is the 10 that I'm writing in here, okay? So what we are writing in the print is the price without any quotations, because if we are going to put quotation here in within the print function, what does it mean? We are going to try that. Okay, we can just print and add the quotation here to see the difference. So here, if I print price, okay, and I run that, what I see that price is literally written in my terminal. I don't want to see that because price is not a string. It's not that word price I want to see. I want to see the value of the price. So here I'm dealing with like the number here. So it's not the string, okay? So what's wrong? Actually two keywords. Okay. Now again, I'm going to plot and I have 10. Okay, fine. So this number 10 now, it's a number, right? It's not a string. I want to see the number and that is the number. We are good. Now, the problem is how this number is stored in the memory of my laptop or device. Think of it. So probably we all know about computers that they do not understand numbers. What they understand actually is kind of code, it's kind of binary. So it understands things that are written in 0-1 language. Fine. So if I want to understand how things are working now. I have this number 10 and how it is going to be interpreted in my, like, what we say, my laptop, okay? So the idea is that when the number 10 is about to be stored in the memory, first it will get converted to this binary representation, 0-1s, like I was telling to you. So this number 10 that we have in the decimal base is decimal base means this number is between 0 and 9, okay? So it's going to be translated in a language that the machine understands, and we are going to have digits which are like a set of 0 and 1s, okay? So when we store the number 10 now in the computer memory, the first thing is it will get converted to binary, okay? And its binary representation is like how we can do that. I'm just going to give you an example about the binary representation. You have the number 10, okay? 10 is what human understands. So this is known as decimal base. I want to write that in like series of 0-1. We start from the right, okay? So from the right, we have here, so always we write things in power of 2, okay? We have 2, always we start 2 power of 0, 2 power of 1, 2 power of 2. I'm so slow in writing with this, but it's fine, I believe. 2 power of 2, 2 power of 3, and so on, okay? You have infinity, but you are going to code the number that you have. For example, in our case, we only have 10. So let's try to see how we will have this 10. 2 power 0 is going to give you how much? Everyone knows that this is, so each time we are having 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, and so on. Okay, it's always 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, This is in the like binary base, and this is like 2 power n base. So 3 to power 1, 0 to power 1, to power 2, to power 3, and then 2 power n. How we are going to put this 10? So we start doing the sum. So 2 power 0 is equal to how much? So it's just 1, okay? It's a rule, okay. 2 power 1, this means 2 multiplied, just 1 2 we are going to consider, so it's equal to 2, okay? And then if I have now 1 plus 2, it's equal to 3, but I need is 10. So let's consider this one we are considering fine, this one we are considering fine. Let's consider one more. So 2 power 2, which stands for 2. I'm going to multiply with 2 again. So what is going to give me? 2 power 2 is 4. Now let's count what we have in hand. This 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 4 is how much? 7, okay? Now we have 7. Still, we are not achieving our target, which is 10. We can add one more, 2 power 3. So 2 power 3 is equal to how much? 2 power 3 is equal to how much? 8. So now if I will sum all this together, it's more than 10. Now, what I need to do is that combination that is going to give me 10. So 10 can mainly be the sum of 8 and 2. Okay, so what I will take in here, it's this one, okay, 1 here, okay, and this one. So I'm having 1 from here. So my final like binary for 10, I have it to be written like 0, 1, 0, 1. So this 10 is considered to be in the decimal, or this number is known as decimal in the decimal base. Now I have it written in the, what we say, binary base, okay? So the computer, once you're writing or typing 10, it's going to represent it this way, 0101, okay? Then it will get stored in the computer's memory, which is the RAM, while the script is running, because when I just here in my editor, okay, if I'm clicking on run here, so it's just going straight to read my number as 0101, okay? So all this is happening. Now, let me come back to the slides. Okay. What we were discussing before, just look for this one. We're discussing about the price. And so we are trying with the price now, just to print, we're understanding how it works in the memory and so on. So just it's translated, I would say, in the language that machine understands, then it's going to be stored in your RAM once your script is running as that binary, and your variable only exists so long your script is running. If your script is not running, means your variable is not existing like anymore, okay? So it's like kind of writing them in file, okay? Once it exists now, it's gone. So if you want to have anything, like when your script is not running, you need to write it to a file. So your variables are temporarily stored in the computer's memory. And now in general, you can name your variables almost whatever you want. Like I was writing message 1 or price or variable, whatever you want. So, but there are some rules, okay? This is what what I'm writing for these examples is correct, but we will go through some errors later. But I previously said that unlike other programming languages, you don't need to specify the variable type in Python. This is very important because if, for example, in Java, you need to write like int price or a string message. We don't do that. It's really simple, so we don't do that in Python. In Java, we do, like I was just mentioning. And why we do, actually, we tell the compiler what we are typing in there is, for example, a variable or like the specific type of that variable, okay? In Python, we don't specify anything, and this is make things much more simple, okay? And now when we're having our number 10, or which is the value or the variable price taking the value 10, it's clear that it's an integer. So we don't need to specify integer 10 or int 10. No, it's clear that it's an integer. Okay, and let's try a different example where the variables are strings, like the hello world message. Okay, we are going just to go back to our pie chart, and we are going to try to create a different variable, which is going to be what we say. We have different, just to make your code clear. So in here we are talking about different examples or different types, different data types of variables. Okay, we're dealing with the first one, which is integer. Now we are going for the other one, which is about, I would say, string, a message, and let's make a hello world message, for example. I'm just clicking tab. You see, when you don't want, just need to delete and write whatever you want. Hello. So smart. Okay. Now what we are going to do, we are going to print this message, which is not an integer, it's a string. And we didn't specify here string message, so we are just going to print this message here, print message. I'm going to run. What I will see, it's the string hello world is written over there. And what is the difference now between this line and this line? For the first variable price, we didn't use that quotes, and here we are using the quotes. So quotes create a string variable, and this is how Python understands that this is a string. Also, I was mentioning last time you can use the single quote. It depends, okay? But in PyCharm it works with the single quote. It's the same, okay? And here, as I'm mentioning, the double quotes, they create a string variable. Again, we didn't need to specify anything or any type, okay? Also, for both message and price, don't need like to just write double quotes around them within the print function, okay? So because if I'm going to print the message, the price in here, or I am going to print message with the quotes in here, so what is going to happen actually is that we are going to see the word message. Instead of seeing hello world, we will see message. We will see price. So we don't do that at all. Just print the variable without any codes within the print message. If something you want to see in the at the end, so there you can just use the codes. Otherwise, you don't need to do that. Okay, and so now we are going just to move on with our slides. So I was discussing this. So if, for example, you're having your codes here within the print, then what is happening? It's going to print you the literally price or literally message, whatever you are writing between codes. So expect this kind of questions in the exam, okay? Then what we have in Python, we can have different types of variables, right? Like, for example, you are having here x equal to 2. So this x is equal to 2. This is a whole number without any decimal point, like you can see here. So we refer like these are numbers, okay? In programming, we refer to these numbers as integers, okay? So it's the same thing. We say integer in programming language, they are numbers, okay? Sorry, an integer now is a number without a decimal point. So we don't see that point something, okay? And if we have that, like for example, in y equal to 25.6, in this case, we have the decimal point. So in programming, we refer this number as a floating number. We have the float in Java even. So floating number are those with some point, and the others, like which are the integers, they do not have any point, okay? So we have mainly integers and floats. And we can also define a variable as a set, for example, the username, Rania, for example. So this is a string. This is a variable that is set to be a string because I having this double quote in here. It could be even a single quote. And this is a string. We can use both, as I'm mentioning, single or double quotes to define strings, but there are times you have to use specific forms. Otherwise, you are going to run into issues. We will learn about this later in this course. Depends also on your programming language and so on. I also can have we have something also known as, I would say, long numbers. Like for example, if you're having your ID or G number, so here you are having kind of a huge number, and this is also possible to have in Python. And you don't define what type it is, as I'm mentioning. You can just save them as a variety of things, and we use that just to, for example, here the underscore, we use that just to separate multiple words. And in Python, there is, like, sometimes you cannot have the total freedom to give the name to your variable. Like if your variable is contains two separate words like J and space and number, for example, I just put an underscore, and we're going to learn more about this later. Okay, so Python is also case sensitive language, which means if I'm writing something in uppercase or lowercase, and then I'm writing without considering that, so there is an error, it does not recognize that variable name. So you need to be very careful about the like upper and lower cases. So when we define variables also, we should always use lower cases. Just keep in mind to not forget, okay? Because if you write your variables with a capital letter, for example, then you call with a lowercase, then it can make errors. So it's better just to write things with, I would say, lowercase, okay? What else I can mention, that double is like float, but it takes double the amount in terms of memory, okay? Because we have the double. In Python, we don't really do anything with memory, so we do not care about that. However, this is extremely important in other programming language. If you have some experience with C, C++, it's really picky about memory. So in Python, we don't care about that. So don't worry about that. I can also create and assign multiple variables all together, which means instead of having price equal to 10 or x is equal to 1, I can have different variables. So x, y, and z, and all these are, for example, 3 variables. I can assign multiple like values to these variables in just one single line within the same line. Okay, so let's go to our Python and let's try that. I'm going to comment this. This also I don't need. Now, what are we going to do now? We are just still learning about the different variable types. So we have the different types. So if I'm mentioning x equal to 2, this is what? This is an integer, okay? Just write this. This is one. Sorry. You see, by the way, you do not have integer, so you do not need to have separate lines for your commands. You can keep them just within the same line of your code. If I have, for example, I can print that x, and let's see. Okay, this is just one variable that we are defining. It's taking the value of 2, which is an integer, or depends on your pronunciation. So it's integer. So next, I am going to have a different data type, y. We are mentioning the value, kind of 25, 6. And in this case, what we have, this is not an integer. This is a float. Okay? And what I can do, for example, I can print the y. And I will see here, I'm not commenting the x previously, so here I expect seeing the value of x and the value of y. Okay, so see here, is x equal to 2, y is equal to 25.6. One of them is integer, one of them is a float. And we can have the username, which is a string in this case. You write your name, or let's see, so you can either use a simple code or can use double code, and it's fine. Then you can just print your variable. And the variable here, as I'm mentioning, print, what was the name? Username. Okay, now we will see, in addition to the previous numbers, we will see the username. And now we have that kind of like IDs or long, big, huge numbers. We have the G numbers. I don't know if you guys know your G numbers, but I suppose it's 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's just a very long number. And if I want to print that, I can also print G number. Okay, let's run it. And we will see that number in the just over there. Fine. Now we will see how, if possible, to do things or create different variables just in one line. It's like I'm using the price in a different line, and then I'm using another value, probably different prices. So now what I can have is one line having all the code or all the values stored over there. Like the example we've seen so far is x, y, and z. And then we will have the values 1 to 3. So this is what we will do in here. So we have our variables, x, then a different one. This is why I'm putting comma, okay? Then I have y and comma, I have z. And they're going to have the values 1 to 3, which means now, if I have this on the left side of the equal sign x, the first one is going to have the first value coming on the right side. The one means is for the x. The y is the second one. So the second number in here is the y, it's answer 2. And then the z is the last one, which is 3. So using the comma, I need to have 3 variables in the left side. I will assign 3 values for that different variables from the right side. And here I can print each of them. For example, I can print, I want to see first the x, and then I want to see the y, and then I want to see the z. Okay, so now if I'm going to print in my editor, I'm going to have all of them. Is it okay?